Joe Reinagel, Jason Minix, The Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It is The Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. He's Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minix. Always fun about this time every Tuesday to talk with San Antonio Sports Hall of Famer, former NFL defensive end, Indy Kalu, joining us here on the Buyers Barricades guest line. Indy, before we get into the Texans, take us to the sidelines. You're in a game. All the hype around Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays in, he goes down. How do the Jets survive that kick to the nuts, regain their breath, and go win that game?
Great question. They're pros. And you know what? It's funny. When I was watching that game, well, it wasn't funny. When I was watching the game, I felt more for the fans than the players, because players, they're in the moment. The starting quarterback goes down. They're thinking to themselves, okay, what do I have to do to win this game? So they're preoccupied with the task at hand. So, of course, it was going to be a letdown for the sideline. You know, players are robotic and they don't have any emotion. But as soon as that player goes down, you're thinking, okay, I have to step my game up. What's next? But for the fans, you know, they sat through all the preseason. They watched the Hard Knocks, you know, getting all excited about what could be. They're the ones who really felt it.
You know, Indy, I've got to ask you, because it seemed like Josh Allen took that injury a lot harder than anybody wearing a Jets uniform did. And he was simply awful. And Jason and I have been talking about that, and it's been a topic here. You know, the hype for Josh Allen has been off the chart for a long time, and the guy just doesn't get it done. Is he still an elite quarterback in your mind?
I'm the wrong person to ask, because I'm a Josh Allen fan. I mean, the athleticism.
Dude, he was horrible last night.
It was one game.
No.
Even the best of the best had one bad game. Like,
he's had a lot of bad games.
Indy, he, not Dak Prescott, who is number 9 on this list. Josh Allen leads the league in turnovers since 2018 with 84, but he doesn't get near the criticism that, I don't know, what Dak Prescott gets.
And Babe Ruth led the league in strikeouts. You know what? Sometimes you just have to
cigarettes.
You have to shoot for the moon. You know, I think of him as a Brett Favre type, where yeah, he's going to be aggressive and he's going to make some plays that you probably wouldn't write up on the whiteboard, but you have to take the good with the bad. I've just always been, you know, I'm not even saying Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback, but I just think you can win the big game with him.
I'm still waiting for the good, Indy. So you let me know when that happens.
You know what? Now because I have so much respect for both of y'all are gonna make me go back and rewatch the games and look at his stats, because I just remember when I watched him play. And look, I live in Houston, so it's not like we get a lot of Buffalo Bills football, but I just know the games that I watch. I was like, man, I like this kid. I like this quarterback.
Indy, you have the internet, right? You have YouTube, you have DirecTV, you have access to see Buffalo. Don't give me that. Well, we live in Houston, we don't get them. They make us watch the Houston Texans. I mean, come on. We know better than that. The great Indy Kalu joining us here on the Blitz. But what is the mindset, right? Because you compare him to Josh Allen, and he gets that. You know, Brett Favre is a gunslinger. So through it all, but he's a gunslinger. It makes it almost acceptable. Josh Allen, gunslinger. He's going to lower his shoulder and go hit. Yeah, he might fumble a couple times, but man, he's going to run over a little cornerback. Other quarterbacks, they don't get that same benefit of the doubt. Why is that?
I think because there's more good than bad, in my opinion, with a Josh Allen. And again, don't get me wrong, he does some things that you're scratching your head, but you're also respected. I don't know if y'all remember that play last night where it looked like he was trying to jump over a defender to get the first down, but he was like 4 yards away. And, you know, his vertical and the length of his jump just wasn't going to get the first down. And you're like, why are you putting your body in a compromising position? That's me sitting on the couch saying that. But as a player, you're like, man, that's my guy. That's my quarterback who's going out there and he doesn't have any regard for his body. And again, last night, it was a bad game, but I just feel like some of the best. There have been games where, and I'm not putting him in the same category, but there have been games where Tom Brady's thrown for 3 interceptions. You know, there have been games where Peyton Manning's thrown for 3 interceptions. So I think when it's all said and done, at the end of the season, he's going to have another stellar year, in my opinion.
Well, I hope so, Indy. I like Josh Allen. There's no hate here for the man, but I'd like to see him get it done. But before we get off this game, I've got to ask you a question, because the Jets now are riding with Zach Wilson. Last year, it seemed like they lost complete confidence in this guy. I know that Aaron Rodgers took him under his wing, and everybody says the right things, that he's a different guy. But as you head to Dallas, if you're a part of that football team and Wilson is your quarterback, are you feeling real good about it?
You know what? I feel like this team with the New York Jets, you can feel good because of the defense. You can feel good because of Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and you can trick yourself into saying, okay, Kyle Wilson is going to be that manager. He's going to be that Trent Dilfer for Baltimore when Baltimore won the Super Bowl and the quarterback didn't have to do too much. If Zach Wilson has matured enough, look, he's been through a lot in a small amount of time. You know, this is a guy's first-round pick. There's a honeymoon period. A lot of guys are giving him bro hugs because he's smashing his mom's girlfriends, and he's the toast of the town. And then he gets benched, and then a Hall of Famer comes in to take his spot. That's a lot to deal with. Before I jumped on the phone with y'all, I was like, I wonder if what's happened over the last 12 months has been enough to, produce a matured Zach Wilson. And if so, I still think the Jets, because of that defense, because of Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook, Michael Carter, running back, that they can still have a successful season.
Well, and again, I look at Zach gives the Jets the best chance. I mean, they can go find another backup, but he at least knows the system, and he's learned a little bit from Aaron Rodgers. You could see that last night. Indy Kalu joining us here on the Blitz. Houston Texans were a tough watch on Sunday, although I say that they played better than I thought they would, considering all the injuries on the offensive line. Defensively, I thought they did a pretty good job. They already seem to have the identity of their new head coach, DeMeco Ryans, which I expected. I just didn't expect it to be in week one. What was your biggest takeaway from Texans-Ravens?
I mean, you pretty much nailed everything that I was going to say. The positives, that defense. And I know when you look at the final score and you see 25 points, it's hard to say that the defense was lights out. But to start the game with Jonathan Grenard getting a sack on Lamar Jackson, and then Will Anderson living up to all expectations. I mean, the commotion he caused, the sack that he did get, and he's turning the corner with his shoulder pads parallel to the ground. I mean, that's knee bends that most defensive ends just dream of, and he's just doing it, making it look easy. I thought there was a lot to get excited about on the defensive side of the ball. And even with the young quarterback, C.J. Stroud, like, look, they, only scored 9 points, so we're not going to sit up here and act like that he's going to be Rookie of the Year after one game. But the poise, I had a chance to talk to Shaq Mason today, the starting guard, and he said just in the huddle, the guy oozes leadership and that the team actually truly believes in him. So as a rookie, he's still going to have to get better. But one of the things we're talking about Zach Wilson, last year, you get the sense the team didn't really believe in him as a leader. But with C.J. Stroud, they believe that he's the man for the job. Now, as he improves every single week, I really think the trajectory is going in the right way. But I'm with you. That was a tough game to watch, mainly after like the second quarter. That's kind of when it was like, okay, this offense is sputtering, and you didn't really expect them to put up too many points on the board.
Well, help us out, Indy, or at least me. Everybody else may already know this. I don't know. But when I'm watching C.J. Stroud as we go and continue through the season, what are you looking for to know that this guy is improving the way that he should be?
You know what? He didn't have any interceptions, but he also didn't have any touchdowns. I would say just more production week in and week out. I know it's easy to say, oh, you know what, if he's just a good manager of the game and, he limits the turnovers, you don't take somebody number two to be a good manager of the game. So with a guy like C.J. Stroud, I think with every week, if we have more of those moments where you say, oh, that's the guy we saw at Ohio State, or, oh, that's why he was considered a top 3 quarterback, I think the more we see of that as the weeks go on, the better it'll be for the team.
Indy Kalu joining us here on the Blitz. Indy, you look at the home opener this weekend for the Houston Texans. A lot of excitement about it. In fact, our producer, James Pledger, is heading down. He's going to start camping out Friday night so he can be one of the first in the building on Sunday. The Colts look pretty good against Jacksonville. I thought this might be one of the more winnable games for Houston. Did they get the Colts game in Houston, or were you not able to watch that one? Your impressions of the Colts after that game they played against Jacksonville?
We'll definitely, I definitely did see that. And you're right. I mean, the Colts look good up into the fourth quarter. You're thinking, oh, the Colts are going to end the whole storyline of the Jacksonville Jaguars being an AFC team to watch. But I still think they're a team that's in a similar situation as the Houston Texans. Obviously, they have the rookie quarterback and Anthony Richardson. He was banged up a little bit. I think Gardner Minshew got in the game. I don't know if he actually threw any passes, but I think they're a very similar team where they're still trying to find themselves on offense, and you have some established players like the DeForest Buckners of the world on defense, and you could expect the defense to try to carry this team. So it's definitely a winnable game, and it's a game, Jason, that if the Texans don't win, they're going to be truly disappointed. Now, the team was disappointed when they lost to Baltimore, but the fan base was, you know what, we didn't really expect to beat the Baltimore Ravens. But this is a game that the fan base, the organization, the so-called analysts, coming from a Houston Texans point of view, they're expecting them to win against the Indianapolis Colts.
Indy, when you look at and I'm just going to throw the team out like the LA Chargers. Everybody's expecting a lot of things. They lose to the Miami Dolphins. As a player, when do you kind of know what your team looks like? I mean, obviously, we all like to talk about and make opinions after one game. When do you guys know in the locker room whether your team is gelling or not?
It's hard to answer because when you're playing, you're so detached from reality. So, and I didn't even realize this until I retired and I was analyzing and really started watching games from the outside looking in. And then I started thinking to myself, oh man, as a player, some of my thoughts that just, it wasn't, in reality. It was too detached from reality. And what I mean by this is, like the LA Chargers. As of right now, this Tuesday, as you and I are all talking, they still think they're going to the Super Bowl. Because unless it's the Miami Dolphins of 1972, you don't really have undefeated teams in the NFL. They lost to a Miami team that really looked good. They lost by only 2 or 3 points. I don't have the score in front of me, but they're telling themselves that they're going to the Super Bowl. I don't, for most, I can't speak for all players. To answer your question, they don't realize they're out of it until they're mathematically out of it. Like when I played
wait. So the Giants who got curb stomped 40-0 by the Cowboys, that's absolutely. A team that still thinks?
100%. And I'm not even exaggerating for y'all's awesome show. Like those players. And again, that's a good example of where I say now when I step out and look in, you're like, oh, wow, that just didn't make sense. There were times when I was in Washington. Well, I say times, it only happened once, where we started 0-7, but we weren't mathematically out of it. And our dumbasses thought, hey, we can make we can make a historic run and get into the playoffs, and anything could happen in the playoffs. Like, we truly believe that to a man. And now that I'm out of it, I was like, what the hell was I smoking? Like, why did I buy into that? So
you were buying in because you saw that check on your chair every Tuesday.
Exactly.
I mean, let's be honest.
Well, not to mention the Giants have the Arizona Cardinals this week, so that's probably what the doctor ordered.
That's a good point because they did not look good against Washington. So look, the Giants. Oh, and also, and don't get me wrong, I was all happy for the Dallas Cowboys fans with their big victory and everything. But
I hear sarcasm there.
The way they won that game, that's not something you expect week in and week out. It wasn't like you saw an offense driving up and down the field and your quarterback was, accurate and your running game was on point. It was a lot of like special plays, special teams, turnovers that you just don't expect to see week in and week out.
When you were watching the Cowboys, were the Giants, is their offensive line that bad, or is Dallas and their defensive guys with the speed that good with the plays that they were calling? And the example I want to give on one of the sacks, Micah Parsons takes out two guys. Osi Odigizua was following Micah. He started right, came back left, following him. And then when Daniel Jones started to climb in the pocket, it was an easy sack for Odigizua. And it looked like it was designed that way. Or were the Giants, even though they were said to be improved on the offensive line, just that bad on the offensive line?
I think it's a little bit of both, but it's more that Dallas Cowboy defense is nasty. Like that to me, that's the type of defense I would rather watch that than Kansas City's offense all day. And the Kansas City's offense is exciting. Odigizua, and props to you, sounded like a Nigerian saying Osa's name correctly. But him
It's taken
and
2
Micah
years,
Parsons.
Indy.
And again, I'm not even a Cowboy fan, but Micah Parsons is a straight dog. And I say that in a good way. Like that's a guy that I hope Will Anderson could emulate. So I really, really think DeMarcus Lawrence, let me not forget about him. Armstrong, like that Dallas defense is nasty, but I'm not expecting every week for Armstrong and Odigizua to have like multiple sacks every week. But I am expecting Micah Parsons to continue to reign terror. So I think it's a little bit of both. Like a very good defense caught an average offense on the worst possible day, and they took full advantage of it.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, how do you counter that? I mean, you played in the NFL a long time, defensive line. How do offensive coordinators counter what the Cowboys were doing?
You mean like in game?
In game,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, if you're an OC,
I mean,
how do
what's
you
the
slow
answer?
down that pass
Yeah.
rush?
Oh, you Chip, CHIP. We used to call him Chippy, where you get that running back and you say, before you go out in coverage, I want my offensive lineman to give Micah Parsons the outside rush. And typically when an edge rusher is rushing outside, he's exposing his outside ribs. And some of the running backs out there have gotten the best, cleanest shots on edge rushers' ribs. And that, I'm not going to say it shuts you down, but it makes you question every time you rush outside. So I would do a lot of chip block, and I would get my baddest running back, whether it's a special teamer, whether it's Saquon Barkley, but I'll say, hey, we're going to chip the heck out of this guy. So even when you don't stay in to pass protect, he's thinking about you. Now, is that an end-all, be-all? No, but I'm surprised that I don't see more tight end help and pass pro chipping these edge rushers when you're dealing with the Dallas Cowboys.
2 guys, 3 guys. It didn't stop Micah Parsons, who took boxing, who's taken up boxing to guard against the chipping and the shots to the face. It's incredible.
He's fun to watch. I mean, we keep talking about the young quarterbacks in the game and how exciting they are, which they are. But when you look at some of these young defensive players, both Bosa brothers, Micah Parsons, Will Anderson, and Myles Garrett. I mean, there's some fun guys to watch on the other side of the ball as well.
Indy, Kalu, always great catching up, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, brothers. I will see y'all next week.
Appreciate it. Indy Kalu on the Buyers Barricades guest line. Buyers Barricades provides traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond. They are online at buyersbarricades.com.